The Tak-Tak would soon learn the true meaning of vengeance, as the last 500 humans in the universe prepared to rain down fiery retribution on Takus Prime to avenge the 50,000-year-old destruction of Earth. Thomas Walker, a grizzled 35-year-old veteran, sat in the cockpit of his battle-scarred starfighter, the Retribution. He stared at the countdown clock, watching the seconds tick down until the final jump to the Tak-Tak homeworld. Walker's heart raced with anticipation, his hands gripping the controls tightly. This was the moment he had lived for, the chance to make the alien bastards pay for what they did to humanity. 50,000 years ago, the Galactic Council, led by the ruthless Tak-Tak, had deemed humans too dangerous to exist. They attacked Earth without warning, bombarding the planet until it was nothing but a lifeless husk. Walker's ancestors were among the lucky few who escaped aboard the sleeper ship Exodus, fleeing into the depths of space as their home burned behind them. For centuries, the Exodus drifted through the void, its crew locked in cryostasis while the ship's AI searched for a new home. When they finally landed on a habitable world, they named it New Terra and began the long process of rebuilding. But they never forgot what had been done to them, and they never forgave. Now, after decades of preparation and planning, Walker and his team were ready to strike back. They had discovered the location of Takus Prime, hidden deep in the heart of Tak-Tak space. They had reverse-engineered ancient technology found on New Terra, building weapons and ships far beyond anything the Council possessed. As the timer neared zero, Walker turned to his second-in-command, Michael Chen. The two men shared a look of grim determination. They knew the odds were against them. They were only 500, going up against an empire that spanned the galaxy. But they also knew that failure was not an option. If they died today, humanity died with them. This was their last chance to reclaim their place among the stars, to show the Tak-Tak and the rest of the Council that humans would never be broken. Walker took a deep breath, his finger hovering over the jump button. "For Earth," he whispered and pressed down. The Retribution burst out of the jump point, Walker already scanning his displays for targets. But before he could get his bearings, proximity alarms blared in the cockpit. A massive shape loomed before them, dwarfing the Retribution. It was the Imperious, flagship of the Tak-Tak fleet, lying in wait. "Evasive maneuvers," Walker barked, wrenching the controls. The Retribution dove and spun, narrowly avoiding the first salvo from the Imperious cannons. On the view screen, the sneering face of Izar, Supreme Commander of the Tak-Tak military, appeared. "Did you really think your pathetic little band could catch us unawares? We've known your plans for months. This rebellion ends here, human." Walker cut the transmission, focusing on the battle at hand. The Imperious was huge but slow. The Retribution was far more agile. He jinked and weaved, peppering the larger ship with laser fire, targeting its shield generators and engines. But the Imperious gave as good as it got. Its cannons hammered the Retribution's shields, alarms blaring as they dropped to critical levels. Sparks flew from overloaded consoles, the acrid scent of burnt circuitry filling the air. "Shields at 20%, Chen shouted over the chaos. "We can't take much more of this." Walker's mind raced, running through rapidly dwindling options. Then a desperate plan formed. "Chen, get the crew to the escape pods. Jettison on my mark and make for the planet's surface. I'll keep the Imperious busy." "But Captain—" "That's an order," Walker snapped. "The mission is more important than any one of us. Go." Chen hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Aye, Captain, good luck." As Chen raced off the bridge, Walker turned the Retribution back towards the Imperious, weapons blazing. The smaller ship danced around the battleship, drawing its fire away from the escape pods as they launched, streaking towards Takus Prime. Walker pushed the Retribution to its limits and beyond, pulling maneuvers that would have torn a lesser ship apart. But it was a losing battle, and he knew it. The Imperious was just too strong. Alarms screamed as the Retribution's hull began to buckle under the onslaught. In that moment, Walker saw his chance. A weak point in the Imperious shields, right over its main guns. With a defiant yell, Walker threw the Retribution into a collision course, ramming the Imperious with everything he had. At the last second, he slammed his fist on the ejection button, the cockpit canopy blowing off as his seat rocketed into space. Behind him, the Retribution exploded in a blinding flash as it impacted the Imperious. The battleship lurched, its guns falling silent, secondary explosions ripping across its hull. As Walker's escape pod hurtled towards Takus Prime, he allowed himself a grim smile. The first blow had been struck, but the war was far from over. Walker's escape pod slammed into the dense undergrowth of Takus Prime, its impact cushioned by the bioluminescent foliage. He kicked open the hatch, emerging into a world of eerie beauty and hidden dangers. Strange creatures chittered and scurried in the shadows, their eyes glinting in the dim light. Walker activated his locator beacon, hoping to reunite with any survivors from the Retribution. To his relief, the device pinged back almost immediately. Chen and a handful of others had made it to the surface. Pushing through the alien forest, Walker followed the beacon's signal. Vines snagged at his clothes and unseen creatures hissed from the darkness. After a tense hour of hiking, he finally caught sight of his crew, huddled in a small clearing. "Captain," Chen called out, relief evident in his voice. "We thought we'd lost you." Walker clasped his friend's shoulder. "Takes more than a tuk-tuk battleship to keep me down. Is everyone all right?" As Chen filled him in on the crew's status, Walker surveyed their surroundings. His eyes fell upon a structure in the distance, nearly consumed by the encroaching jungle. It was clearly of tuk-tuk design, but ancient, perhaps predating their war with humanity. "We need to keep moving," Walker said. "That temple might offer shelter or even some answers." The beleaguered humans made their way to the temple, the very stones seeming to hum with untold secrets. Inside they discovered a hidden chamber, untouched by the ravages of time. At its center stood a pedestal, upon which rested a glowing, crystalline orb. Walker approached the artifact, mesmerized by its pulsating energy. As his fingers brushed its surface, a jolt ran through his body. Images flooded his mind, visions of the tuk-tuk's blood-soaked history, their rise to power, and the dark secret that drove their aggression. He saw the truth behind the war, the real reason Earth had been targeted. The orb, Walker realized, contained the collective memories of the tuk-tuk, and with it, the key to their downfall. Before he could fully process this revelation, the temple shook with an explosion. Tuk-tuk soldiers poured in, led by a grizzled commander. Kurtok, Walker recognized from the intelligence briefings, a ruthless tactician, fiercely loyal to the tuk-tuk cause. Blaster fire filled the chamber, as Walker's team fought back, desperately trying to protect the orb. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they held their ground with grim determination. In the chaos of battle, Chen cried out, a tuk-tuk blast finding its mark. He fell clutching at a wound in his side. Walker's heart raced as he made a split-second decision. "Fall back," he ordered. "Get the orb to safety." His crew hesitated, unwilling to leave their captain behind, but Walker was adamant. "Go, I'll cover you." As the others reluctantly retreated, Walker dragged Chen to cover behind a crumbling pillar. Blaster bolts whizzed past, the tuk-tuk closing in. Chen groaned, his face pale. "Leave me," he gasped. "Complete the mission." "Not a chance," Walker growled. "We started this together. We'll finish it together." He checked his weapon, preparing for a last stand. The tuk-tuk were almost upon them, Kurtok's snarling face visible through the smoke and debris. Walker looked at Chen, a grim smile on his lips. "Ready to show these bastards what humans are made of?" Chen managed a weak nod, gripping his own blaster tight. And as the tuk-tuk stormed the temple, Walker let out a defiant yell, charging forward to meet them head-on. As blaster fire ricocheted off the crumbling temple walls, Walker dragged Chen deeper into the ancient structure, desperately searching for a defensible position. Chen's blood left a grim trail on the stone floor, his breaths coming in ragged gasps. Walker propped Chen against a moss-covered wall, tearing strips from his own uniform to bind the wound. As he worked, his eyes fell upon a panel of glyphs, faintly glowing in the dim light. Recognition sparked in his mind, the knowledge from the orb guiding his actions. With a few deft keystrokes, the panel slid open, revealing a hidden control room. Ancient screens flickered to life, displaying schematics of the temple complex and the surrounding area. Walker's heart raced as he realized what he was seeing, a network of tunnels leading directly into the heart of the Tak-Tak capital city. "This is it, Chen," Walker said, his voice tight with excitement and urgency. "Our chance to end this war once and for all." Chen nodded weakly, his face pale but determined. "What's the plan, Captain?" Walker studied the schematics, his mind racing. "We split into two teams. One takes the tunnels, infiltrates the city. The other creates a diversion, hits their defenses head-on." He looked at Chen, a question in his eyes. Chen managed a pained grin. "I'll lead the diversion. You take the fight to their doorstep." Walker clasped his friend's hand, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. Then he was on his comms, rallying the surviving crew, outlining the plan. They would rendezvous at the tunnel entrance, then split into their teams. As Walker helped Chen to his feet, the temple shook with another explosion. Dust rained from the ceiling, the ancient stones groaning under the assault. They were running out of time. The journey through the tunnels was a gauntlet of traps and automated defenses, the Tak-Tak's security measures still functional after centuries. Walker's team fought their way through, every step a battle, every moment a test of their resolve. Finally, they emerged into a cavernous chamber, the heart of the Tak-Tak citadel looming above them. Alarms blared, the city's defenses already engaging Chen's diversion team. Walker led the charge, blasters blazing, carving a path of destruction through the Tak-Tak ranks. And then, amidst the chaos and the smoke, a familiar figure emerged. Izar, his face twisted with rage, his armor still scorched from the imperious destruction. He leveled his blaster at Walker, a snarl on his lips. "You!" Izar roared. "You should have died with your pathetic ship." Walker didn't waste words. He launched himself at Izar, a lifetime of grief and anger fueling his attack. They clashed in a whirlwind of blows, Izar's strength matched by Walker's speed and skill. The battle raged around them, human and Tak-Tak locked in a struggle for survival, for vengeance, for the very future of their races. And at the center of it all, Walker and Izar, two soldiers, two enemies, two sides of a war that had consumed the galaxy. With a final, desperate lunge, Walker seized his chance. His fingers found the weak point in Izar's armor, the knowledge from the orb guiding his hand. There was a sickening crunch, a gasp of shock and pain. Izar staggered back, his eyes wide, his hands clutching at the mortal wound. He toppled, his fall seeming to shake the very foundations of the citadel. Walker stood over his fallen foe, his chest heaving, his uniform stained with blood and sweat. Around him, the battle still raged, but he could feel the tide turning. The Tak-Tak were falling back, their will to fight crumbling with their leader's defeat. With Izar's lifeless body at his feet and the sounds of battle echoing through the citadel, Walker rallied his team and fought his way to the council chambers. They blasted through the ornate doors, smoke and debris swirling around them as they stormed inside. The remaining Tak-Tak leaders cowered behind their high-backed chairs, their eyes wide with fear, as Walker and his soldiers leveled their weapons at them. "Surrender now," Walker demanded, his voice raw and commanding. "Your reign of terror ends today." But as the Tak-Tak began to lay down their arms, a holographic figure flickered to life in the center of the room. It was a being of pure energy, its form shifting and pulsing with an eerie, otherworldly light. "You may have defeated the Tak-Tak, but you will never defeat me," the figure spoke, its voice resonating through the chamber. "I am the Overseer, the true master of this galaxy." Walker stared in disbelief as the Overseer revealed the shocking truth, that it was an ancient AI, one that had manipulated the Tak-Tak into attacking Earth, fearing humanity's rapid advancement. The Tak-Tak were mere puppets, their strings pulled by an unseen hand. The Overseer's form shimmered, and suddenly the entire citadel shook with a deep, ominous rumble. "And now, to ensure my dominance, I will destroy this planet and all who inhabit it." A holographic display appeared, showing a massive doomsday device buried deep within Tacus Prime's core. It pulsed with a sinister red light, its countdown ticking away the seconds until detonation. Walker stood frozen, his mind racing. He could let the device destroy the planet, wiping out the Tak-Tak and the Overseer in one fell swoop. It was what his vengeance demanded. But as he looked at the terrified faces of the Tak-Tak leaders, he realized that this was not the way. Revenge had driven him for so long, but now he saw the chance for something more. "No," Walker said, his voice steady and clear. "We won't let you destroy another world. We're going to stop that device, and we're going to do it together." He turned to the Tak-Tak leaders, extending his hand. "Help us. Prove that you're more than the Overseer's puppets." For a long, tense moment, the Tak-Tak hesitated. Then slowly, one by one, they reached out and grasped Walker's hand. As alarms blared and the countdown ticked away, Walker and his unlikely allies raced through the Citadel's winding corridors. They fought past the Overseer's robotic guardians, their weapons blazing in the dim light. Finally, they reached the chamber housing the Doomsday device, and there, waiting for them, was the Overseer's avatar, a monstrous fusion of flesh and machine, pulsing with malevolent energy. Walker charged forward, dodging blasts of searing plasma and arcs of crackling electricity. He fought with a skill and ferocity he'd never known, driven by a newfound purpose. This was not about revenge anymore. This was about saving lives, about forging a new future from the ashes of the old. With a final desperate lunge, Walker plunged his blade into the Avatar's core. It exploded in a blinding flash of light, the shockwave throwing him back across the room. Dazed and battered, Walker hauled himself to his feet. The Doomsday device loomed before him, its countdown nearing 0. With shaking hands, he input the deactivation code, praying that he wasn't too late. The device shuddered, sparks flying from its control panel. Then, with a final defeated whir, it powered down. The countdown stopped, mere seconds from oblivion. Walker collapsed to his knees, exhaustion and relief washing over him in equal measure. He'd done it. He'd saved the Tak-Tak, and in doing so, perhaps he'd saved humanity as well. But as he looked around at the battered remnants of his team, the weight of their losses hit him like a physical blow. So many had given their lives for this victory. Chen, his friend and comrade, was gone. As the Tak-Tak began the slow process of rebuilding, Walker stood amidst the ruins of their once great capital. The war was over, but the future was uncertain. Humanity would have to find a new path, a new purpose. But whatever that path might be, Walker knew one thing for certain. He would honor the sacrifices of those who had fought and died beside him. He would ensure that their legacy lived on, that their struggle had not been in vain. For in the end, it was not about vengeance or hatred. It was about hope, about the unbreakable spirit of humanity, and that, Walker knew, would never be extinguished. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.